So I have two compositions here. I've got Robin and I've got Batman. So let's double click. Yep, I'm in Robin at the moment. This is just let's have a look at my composition settings. A 600 by 600, 24 frames per second, and this is 6 seconds long with a blue background. So something really simple. Just going to draw a circle. Going to hold down Shift. I'm going to get my anchor point tool, press Y. Once again, select the layer as opposed to actually the ellipse in there. Select the layer, move the anchor point to the center there. And there's a reason why I did that, but that was in a previous video called anchor points. And I'm just going to rename this layer circle. So circle. If you want to know how I managed to snap that to the center, when I'm on my anchor point tool, I've just got snapping on here, and it obviously just snaps to where I need it to be. So that's it. Now we're going to be talking about everything that we can do with motion and what we can actually transform, well, basics of what we can do to our circle over time. So as you can see here, we've got our timeline, so from 0 seconds all the way up to 6 seconds, and we can do things to this object over time. So let's have a look within our layer. So if I scrub down, and I've got a content and I've got a transform. So if I open my content, you can see the ellipse 1, and that's obviously our ellipse within that layer. And then if we go down to here, we've got a transform. So this is what we can do over time. We can transform our object. So we can transform its anchor point, its position, its scale, rotation, and opacity. Its anchor point we can actually change, but I'd recommend if we just stick with position, scale, rotation, and opacity. So if I do this, if I mess around with these numbers here, so I can either, as you can see, if I hover over it, it's got an arrow either to the left or to the right, so I can actually scrub across. So this is our X position along the corridor, so X. We've got our Y here as well, which we can change. And then if we can change our scale. Another way of doing this is, say if I want this to be 50%, instead of me trying to scrub through, I can actually just click and type in the number that I want. So that goes back up to 100. Now rotation, and we've got 2 for rotation. So this is a full rotate. The great thing about me creating a circle is that you cannot actually see the rotation, but if I have a look, you can see the layer obviously rotating round. So that goes all the way up to 360. Let's say go up to 360. So scrubbing across, and then as you can see, once I went past 360, look, 359. And that changed to a full rotation. So if I put 20 there, that means it's rotated 20 times round. But because we're adding no animation at the moment, that's not going to make any difference. But just to be aware, that's full rotation there. So let's go down to 0, and this is all the way up to 360. Okay. And then finally, opacity. What's opacity? Well, have a look at our circle on here. If I decrease that, it's just got to do with transparency. Okay. So if I wanted to, if I had my shape, so if I go back down to here, and if I want to get up the position point, and I want to mess around with that, all I have to do is press P on my keyboard. If I want scale, I press S. If I want rotation, I press R. And then if I want opacity, so remember what's another word for opacity? Transparency. So if I press T, then it comes up with opacity. Next video we'll actually do some animating, but we're going to be, as long as you know the keyboard shortcuts. So once again, we've got P, S, R, and T. And as we know what we learned from earlier, if we press Y, then you get your anchor point tool, which we can mess around with over time. That's it. Thank you.